The U.S. government is currently creating one of the most colossal monuments in the history of the world. It's the U.S. national debt, and it threatens to literally destroy the American way of life. For decades now, this generation has been recklessly spending the money of future generations and has been convinced that they have been getting away with it. Americans have been enjoying an obscenely high standard of living, but the party's almost over, and the day of reckoning is fast approaching. It's been a great party, but it was fueled by the biggest mountain of debt in the history of the world. As many of us know, it can be extremely fun running a huge credit card bill, but it can be even more painful to pay it off. Now our national credit card bills are starting to arrive, and nobody really seems to know what to do. The U.S. national debt will forever be a lasting reminder of the greed and recklessness of this generation. The truth is that the United States is not the richest and most powerful nation in the world. Rather, we're a spoiled, bloated, greedy nation that's run up a debt so big that words simply don't do it justice. The U.S. national debt is so bizarre, it's hard to know whether to laugh or cry about it. For today, at least, we'll have some fun with it. The following are 14 facts about the U.S. government's massive debt problem. Number one, as of December 1st, 2009, the official debt of the United States was approximately $12.1 trillion. Now that's 6 months ago, 8 months ago, nearly almost at this point. To pay this $12.1 trillion debt would require approximately $40,000 from every single person living in the United States. Unbelievable. Now the U.S. Congress has approved to increase the U.S. government debt cap to $14.3 trillion. And to pay this increase off would require approximately $6,000 more from every man, woman, and child in the United States. That's $46,000 per person, per every woman, man, child in the United States. You walk through a major city, every person you see walking by you has to contribute $46,000 each to pay off this national debt. The U.S. government's debt ceiling has been raised 6 times since the beginning of 2006. So think about $1 trillion. How hard is it to spend $1 trillion? If you spent $1 every second, you would have spent $1 million in 12 days. Now at that same rate, it would take you 32 years to spend $1 billion. That's at spending $1 every second. It takes 32 years to spend $1 billion. Now take that to $1 trillion. If you spend $1 every second of every hour of every day, it would take you more than 31,000 years to spend $1 trillion. Just amazing. When Ronald Reagan took office, the U.S. national debt was about $1 trillion. The U.S. national debt has more than doubled since the year 2000. Barack Obama's most recently proposed budget anticipates $5.08 trillion in deficits over the next 5 years. The U.S. national debt on January 1st, 1791 was just $75 million. Today, the U.S. national debt rises by that amount once per hour. That's right, $75 million per hour our national debt rises. The U.S. national debt rises at an average of approximately $3.1 billion per day. In 2010, the U.S. government is projected to issue almost as much debt as the rest of the governments in the world combined. The U.S. government has such a voracious appetite for debt that the rest of the world simply doesn't have enough money to lend us. So now the Federal Reserve is buying most U.S. debt, and the only reason they can do that is because they basically create the money to lend us out of thin air. $1 trillion $10 bills, if they were taped end to end, would wrap around the globe more than 380 times. That amount of money would still not be enough to pay off the U.S. national debt. As if all that wasn't bad enough, according to the 2008 financial report of the United States government, which is an official United States government report, the total liabilities of the United States government, including future Social Security and Medicare payments that the U.S. government is already committed to pay out, now exceeds $65 trillion. That's an official government report claiming that the total liabilities of the United States government, including future Social Security and Medicare payments, the U.S. government is already, at this point, as of last December, 8 months ago, is already committed to pay out over $65 trillion. Frightening facts, to be honest with you. All the more reason to be prepared for a coming economic collapse. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more videos.
In case you haven't noticed, we're in a recession, a pretty bad one. States are going broke, people are unemployed, making them more dependent upon social services. When demand for those social services goes up, the price tag for providing them does as well. What you want to do is borrow money to pay for these increased costs to prevent the economy from further contraction. Balancing the budget at a time like this slows the recovery. The GOP is adamant, and any new spending must be offset by cuts elsewhere. Okay, so what are they willing to cut? Food stamps. Okay, why are they cutting food stamps?
So they would say they're doing a technical fix. In the stimulus plan, we took food stamps and increased them across the board by 13%. And we did that because A, food stamps are the best form of stimulus we've got. It is $1.70 of economic activity for each dollar you put towards it. And B, because we thought price of food would go up, a lot of people would need help. Thing is, the recession was so bad, inflation was essentially non-existent, so the price of food didn't go up. So now people feel, and I think this is a bit of an odd take on it, that actually we've given these poor people who need food stamps too much. It's been too generous. So they have decided to cut $6.7 billion from the program and put it somewhere else. This is a bit of an odd idea for a couple reasons, but one is, this is a program that goes directly to poor people. It's not like tax cuts for the rich, not like farm subsidies. In a long recession, it's what you want, but this is where we're starting with our deficit reduction, it appears. Sophie's choice of budgeting. What's going on here is that we did a lot of state and local funding in the original stimulus, but now the recession has been longer than the stimulus was set to go for, so now that money is expiring, which means Medicaid and schools, which are two things states fund, are about to run out of money. Now, this is a problem because in a recession, a lot more people need Medicaid, and our children still need to go to school. So they've been trying to figure out how to get money back to Medicaid and the schools. Now, Democrats want to do what you normally do in a recession and do it on the deficit, as Republicans did for tax cuts and Medicare prescription drug benefits and many other things. But in this case, it would make sense because you want to put but you want to put new dollars into the economy now. That got voted down by Republicans. So the package got whittled down. We're now looking at much less money for Medicaid and education than we need, and they've had to find offsets that Republicans will accept. And one of the few they'll accept, it turns out, is this food stamp cut, as opposed to, say, paying for $6.7 billion of the $3+ trillion of Bush tax cuts that we're set to extend next year.
Went to the grocery store, and I was buying groceries, and they wouldn't take my card, and I had to put all my food back. And my little girl was crying. She said, "Mommy, what are we going to eat?" I got some beans. What are you going to do? You have no money. You have, my food stamps were canceled. I didn't have that. I wasn't receiving my paycheck. I had no means of buying food at all. None. So
you had to get rid of the shame.
Yeah. If your kids are hungry, they need to come out here and they need to get them some food. And I came in crying. You can come in crying too. Just get food for your babies.